Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Brad Yates is known internationally for his creative and often humorous use of emotional freedom techniques, otherwise known as EFT. Brad is the author of the best-selling children's book, The Wizard's Wish, the co-author of the bestseller Freedom at Your Fingertips, and a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. He's also been a presenter at a number of events, including Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success, has done teleseminars with the Secret stars Bob Doyle and Dr. Joe Vitale. Brad also has over 1,000 videos on YouTube that have been viewed over 33 million times. In this episode, Brad helps us to understand EFT techniques, how he got into tapping, his background as a performer in the circus and on Days of Our Lives, and a live tapping session to ease stress. I hope you enjoy the laughs and profound insights I got to share with Brad. Welcome, Brad, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Now, I'm so excited to connect with you today because you're a bit of a pro when it comes to emotional freedom, and you have worked alongside some of the greats in the industry. For people who haven't heard of you and don't know what you do, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically what I do is help people change their minds so that they can feel better, do better, and live better. And the way I primarily do that is with a technique called emotional freedom techniques, or simply known as tapping. And for those who are not familiar with it, it is actually literally a process of tapping with our fingertips on our face and torso. And if you are new to this, I totally get that it sounds crazy and it looks weird. But it's very effective in calming down stress. And when you consider that stress is at the root of most, if not all, of the issues that trouble us, then having this simple technique for lowering stress is profound in all kinds of areas of life.
Yeah, and you make it sound so simple, can I just say? And it can be, can't it?
And that's what throws some people off, is it's when you look at how many things it can be effective with, and then you tell people, oh yeah, we're just going to tap around, 8 points on our face and body. It's like, that's too simple. But, that's the way our body is designed. This process downregulates that stress response. And, so many of the things that cause us distress and limit our ability to experience greater health, wealth, and happiness are tied to stress and also the avoidance of stress. We look at, unconsciously we'll look at having more money or being healthier or being in a relationship, whatever it might be, as stressful. And so our unconscious mind, even without us knowing it, is avoiding that situation. And because we're afraid that we can't handle it. And by doing this and just using this process that allows us to relax and look at things and feel safer as we look at things, it just opens up so many possibilities for us.
Yeah, and I know I've spoken with other guests on the show around the power of the mind, and really the mind alone can do so much, can't it? Like when we let it.
We don't even know how much, there are people who talk about, what is really possible. And we can look at people and see things that people are doing and experiencing. And for so many of us, it's like, this just doesn't fit my model of what's possible. How on earth are you doing that? It's like the mind can do that if it has the freedom to do that. But we have this electric fence around our comfort zone, and we like, don't mess with that. Don't go past that. And so we don't allow ourselves to experience what the mind can do for us.
Yeah, and I guess that leads us into, that mind-body connection. And when you do try tapping for the first time, is it something that I know I've done it, but for those that haven't, do you really just need to surrender and believe in the process?
And that's the great thing about it, is it doesn't require belief, because we're just using the way the body is designed. You have to be willing to believe enough that you're actually willing to do it. There has to, if we so insist that it's not going to work and you refuse to do it, then obviously.
Yeah.
But there isn't a belief thing of, well, if I wish and think hard enough, then the tapping will help me. Just tapping along. And the way that I do it's a very intuitive process of coming up with different things to say to try to evoke the shift that we want in our thoughts and our feelings. And you talk about mind body. It's like the ultimate mind body technique, because we're using both the mind and the body at the same time. But just doing this process, like the Heimlich maneuver. You don't have to believe anything.
Yeah.
It's going to make your body do something to help you release what's no longer serving you.
Yeah. So there's an actual science behind it, in that it's all connected to our meridian points, right?
So that's where it was originally based. It was Dr. Roger Callahan was a psychologist working with a woman with a water phobia, and had been expanding his horizons and was taking a course in acupressure. And she said that the fear came up for her as a knot in her stomach. And he said, "Oh, well, I've been learning this. There's this meridian point under the eye for the stomach that's associated with the stomach. Let's see if we can just tap there and see if we can release some of the knot in your stomach." And not only did the knot in her stomach go away, the lifelong fear of water went away.
Wow.
That's what we call a 1-minute wonder. And it doesn't usually happen quite that quickly, where a lifelong phobia is gone in a moment. But so he started experimenting and tapping different points based on what he had learned about the acupuncture system. Now, there are other theories of how it works in terms of sending bioelectrical signals to the brain to calm down the fight or flight response. There is a growing body of research in terms of the polyvagal system, this vagus nerve that runs from the brainstem down through the body and connects different organs and regulates emotion. Just south of you, down in Gold Coast, my good friend Dr. Peta Stapleton at Bond University. She's a psychology professor at Bond University and is one of the leading researchers in EFT, and has been working with Dr. Stephen Porges on the relationship between EFT and the polyvagal system. So there's a growing body of evidence, and she's done fMRI studies where we can see the changes in the brain activity. So while many of us for years have just gone, yes, we know that when we tap, we feel better and we're able to change our mind and make shifts and changes in our lives, there is a growing body of scientific research showing, yes, it's not just that you think you feel better. We can see the difference in the brain scan. We can study things like cortisol levels. So cortisol being one of the stress hormones that comes up when we go into fight or flight. And we can measure how much cortisol is in the system before the tapping and then how much is there afterwards. And in double-blind, gold standard research studies, the groups doing the tapping have a dramatic drop in cortisol. So it's really exciting to have this scientific research, so that when people look at it and say, "You look like you're crazy," it's like, yes, but I have science backing this up.
So you've done like tapping with people all around the world, and worked alongside some of the greats like Gabby Bernstein, Dr. Joe Vitale, heaps more. What kind of change have you seen in people through tapping?
It's really exciting to see some of the shifts. And again, some of them happen very quickly, where I might be working with someone on a traumatic memory from childhood. And sometimes in a matter of moments, they can look back and say, oh, it's like watching a movie. I don't feel any emotion around that. And again, it doesn't always happen that quickly. Sometimes it takes longer because there are maybe other memories that are associated. So it might take longer to work through those things. With physical issues, sometimes we see people with physical pain and it can drop dramatically sometimes. Sometimes it's just a matter of, well, I feel a little bit easier. I've got a little bit more range of motion. And sometimes I was teaching this at a health fair years ago, and somebody was experiencing some back pain. And they said, it's like an 8 out of 10 in terms of how painful it is. And we did some tapping and said, oh yeah, I think I feel better. And they left. And they came back about 2 hours later and said, so I don't know if you know this, in another part of the park, there's a dance floor and we've been over there dancing. What the heck did you do? Because this person was able to dance. They felt so much freedom. With financial things, people allowing themselves to make connections, business connections that they hadn't made before because they were afraid of talking to certain people. People allowing themselves to make more money because they were clearing up beliefs about why they couldn't or shouldn't have a bigger income. So it's been very exciting in all kinds of different areas of life to see where people allow themselves to change their minds about what's possible for them.
And you often refer to it as emotional acupuncture without the needles. And I guess that's a great way to explain it to people who've never experienced it. Is it something that you find, as you've mentioned there, that you need to do on a consistent basis to get real results?
It certainly helps to do it consistently. I personally recommend tapping on a daily basis because to me, it's energy hygiene.
Yeah.
We have physical hygiene, which we do on a regular basis. Most of us brush our teeth and take a shower on a daily basis, whether we need it or not. Most of us don't wait until the people around us are holding their nose and then go, oh, that's right, I haven't taken a shower in 2 weeks. I should probably get on that. But with stress, most of us don't have a practice for cleaning the stress. And so we do let it build up to the point where there are some unfortunate consequences. So by doing this on a regular basis, we can keep that stress, as clear as possible. Most of us are walking around with a device that's constantly giving us things to be stressed out about. And yet we're not. So that's like constantly getting your hands dirty, but not ever washing your hands.
Oh, what a great way to look at it. Yeah. Wow.
So it can't, certainly you can wait until, something's really bothering me. Now I should go do some tapping and clear that out. Just like with taking showers, if you take a shower in the morning and then you go and you work out at the gym and you're all sweaty, you don't go, well, I've already taken a shower today, so I'm not going to take it. It's like you use as needed, but I definitely recommend doing at least some every day.
Now, how on earth did you get into this, Brad? I mean, you say on your website that you're a grown man tapping your face for a living, but I mean, how did you get into this? I know you've got an acting background. You've been on Days of Our Lives.
I saved Sammy's life on Days of Our Lives. Yes, I'm not a doctor, but I played one on TV.
And you've had circus training as well. Tell us about that.
Yes. I am a graduate of Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Clown College.
Incredible.
It was an amazing experience. 2 months of spending every day in makeup and juggling and unicycle riding and throwing pies and things like that. And that came about while I was an actor. I had traveled the world doing children's theater. I even performed at the Victoria Arts Centre in Melbourne. And then I decided at one point it's time to go to Hollywood and become a movie star, as one does.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I met this woman, fell in love, got married, and just after meeting her, got accepted to clown college because, why not? And said, hey, honey, we're having a great relationship. I'm going to go for 2 months and be a clown.
Literally running away with the circus.
Yeah, literally. Well, so at the end of clown college, they offer contracts to some of the people to go on the road. Yeah. It's a year-long contract. And I had been chosen to be one of the MCs and one of the featured performers in the big show for the producer of Ringling Brothers. And I said to that morning of the show, I said to the director, look, here's the deal. I am in a serious relationship. I don't want to spend the next year on a train. And he goes, well, you signed a contract. Fortunately, I was not the kind of clown they were looking for that show. They asked me to come in and do some other things, but so I didn't spend the next year on the train, but I did get married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought I might need a backup job to help support my family because even though I'd played a doctor on television, it wasn't quite the salary of the doctor, and I wasn't making quite enough at that point to support a family. So I thought I'd always been fascinated by the power of the mind, and I saw an ad for a hypnotherapy school. I thought, hey, that would be really cool. So I trained to become a hypnotherapist and started a small practice. And so I was doing the hypnotherapy and pursuing my acting career at the same time. And then a couple of years later, when our second child was on the way, I realized as much as I love acting, this personal development work is really what I'm called to. This is what I'm here for, is helping people make these shifts so that they can live a better life. And we left Los Angeles to move up to Northern California to be closer to our families. And through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this energy psychology and this tapping stuff. And there's this conference going on in Las Vegas. And I thought, sure, what the heck? So I went and took a day-long workshop with Gary Craig, the founder of EFT. And he's having us tap on our faces. And like I said, for those of you who are new to tapping, I know it looks a little weird. Remember, I'd already been to clown college at this point. So,
anything was on the
cards. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll tap on my face. And particularly when he had everyone, gave everyone a piece of chocolate and said, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want that chocolate? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time, and I'm like 8, 9. And we just tapped for, a minute or two. I could not eat the chocolate.
Wow.
I did not eat chocolate for 2 years after that.
Whoa.
Now don't worry, Mindy. I got better.
Oh, God. Yes. Thank you for that.
But now I can take it or leave it. I've been on a sugar fast now for several weeks now, and it's not a willpower thing. It's just, I just clear the desire, and it's, best way to deal with food cravings is just, clear the desire so that you can sit there, and if other people are having it, it's like, great, have at it. But it just doesn't interest me at the moment. So that having that kind of experience with the tapping in that moment really, really let me know, okay, there's something to this. So after that conference, I went back, and I think with my next hypnotherapy client, like at the last 5 minutes of our session, I said, we've got 5 more minutes. There's this thing I want to try with you, and did some tapping. And little by little, they became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnosis at the end.
Incredible.
It became my main tool.
Amazing. And, you talk there about, cravings, which can lead to addictions. You also trained in Sacramento Drug Court as well.
I had the opportunity to teach a tapping course at Sacramento Drug Court for people who were coming out of jail for drug offenses and had to go through a court-mandated recovery program. And they had people teaching yoga, and they were doing acupuncture and Tai Chi and all these different things, mind-body stuff to help people with their recovery process. And I had met the person running the program and said, would you teach an EFT course? I said, sure. And it was very interesting because this was a very different crowd than my usual clientele. And these people who had been, had tough lives and were coming out of jail, and I come in and it's like, so tap on your face. And not everybody was excited about it, but every so often there would be people who were just, they'd allow themselves to get into it, and they'd be like, oh man, this stuff works. It's like, that's why I'm here. This is not just, you've been to jail, you're a bad person, we're going to punish you by making you tap on your face and look like an idiot for an hour every week. So that was very rewarding. I did that for about 3 years.
Incredible. Now, Brad, there's a question I love to ask every guest on the show, and I'm keen to hear your response. If you were to define for me what being ethical means to you, what would it be?
It would doing what you feel is right, and it's tricky because it doesn't take much effort to look around the world and see that a lot of people have some very mixed ideas about what's right.
Mm.
And that's why there are so many boards of ethics, because all right, we can't trust everybody to have our same standards of ethics, so here's what the ethics are, here's what's right. And ideally, at the core, I think that we know what's right when we move beyond fear and all those. People talk about negative emotions. I don't believe they're negative emotions. There are uncomfortable emotions. But all emotions are part of the human experience. But the uncomfortable ones can lead us to behave in ways that are not good for ourselves or others. And so when we talk about ethics being, well, do no harm. But we have, based on the pain that we have, the trauma that we might have a very slippery slope in terms of what we think is okay and right. And certainly we can look at social media and go,
yeah,
how did that person think that was right? Isn't there a board of ethics that was supposed to stop that person from doing that thing? Especially, if it's someone in public office, it's like, wait, isn't there an ethics board that, but I think as we clear that, and, hopefully that's what I do with my work, is help people clear those fears such that we're not compelled to behave in unethical ways, because why would we? There's a part of us that wants to do good and not do harm.
And that's an interesting point that you make there, Brad. And I've had a very similar discussion with other guests around emotions and how we're led to believe that there are good and bad emotions, and that we should always be experiencing the good ones. But that's not how life works, is it?
We come here for the spectrum of human emotion. I mean, if that was the case, why do people read Jodi Picoult novels? Those are tearjerkers. I see my wife and she'd be reading them. It's like, why are you doing that to yourself? Why do people go to horror movies? I don't particularly like to be scared, but people enjoy experiencing these emotions. We like to feel things. We watch movies and read books and experience things. It's much easier if it's fictional, but it can be said, okay, but the reality is we know it is fiction. We're spiritual beings having a physical reality. This is just a movie, a play, all the world's a stage, etc. And we come here for some drama and for some conflict. The tapping is not about, oh, that's a bad feeling, let's get rid of it as soon as possible. It's about, okay, I want to process this. There's something I'm supposed to get for this. There's some reason why I'm feeling this. But I want to process this and get what I'm supposed to have out of it and not stay in the discomfort as longer than need be. I don't come up to someone who's just lost a loved one and say, oh, let's tap on some grief, get rid of that bad feeling. Because it's not a bad feeling. It's like, this is part of the human experience, but we don't want to have it stop us. And we want to clear the excess emotion that is stopping us from being able to live our lives.
So it's really just living that human experience, isn't it?
Absolutely. As painlessly as possible, but not expecting that, people will say, I want to be happy 24/7. I said, boy, you picked the wrong job being a human being. That is just not in the job description. Now, I have a friend who talks about being 88% happy, and there's, being reasonably happy as often as possible, and definitely striving. I want to be as happy as often as possible, but setting up that expectation of it's going to be all the time, everywhere. It's like, well, then I may not grow very much. But we want to process the emotion rather than just sitting and going, oh, this is miserable. And that throws a lot of people when we do EFT, because in the basic version of EFT, when we look at, okay, I'm feeling this stress, or I'm feeling really sad about this thing that just happened, or I'm really angry at Bob because of this stupid thing that he did. And so you say, okay, so you're going to tap on the side of your hand and say, even though I'm really sad about this thing, and then people go, well, no, we don't talk about the sadness, talk about the happiness. Okay, so if you break your arm, are you going to go to the doctor and say, let's talk about my leg? My leg feels really good. I just want to talk about how good my leg feels. You have to address it. If your dog poops on your carpet, you don't go, I'm just going to look at where the carpet is clean. Because one, you're kidding yourself, because part of your brain is very much focused on the poop.
Yeah.
And two, if you're in denial, you're going to step in and spread it around. It's not the same. This is not about you're sitting down on the couch, looking at the poop and going, oh, my life is miserable. There's poop there. It's not sitting in it and just, stewing in your discomfort. It's about addressing it, saying, oh, this is here. This is something that needs to be dealt with. Oh, I'm feeling some fear. Oh, I'm feeling some anger. I'm feeling some sadness. What's going on there? What are the thoughts that I'm having that's contributing to this? It's not about, oh, just get rid of the feeling, because that's what, so much medication is, just numbing the feeling and not dealing with what's there. So this is a matter of, no, I want to process this and look at what's there and find out, is this something I need to hang on to? And I can certainly choose to experience this emotion, but I can also choose to look at what's there and what's really going to serve me.
And it's really having that consciousness, isn't it? Like of acknowledging what's going on and dealing with it. Because I think that's where some of the greatest healing comes from, is just acknowledging what's happening for you and dealing with it and reacting differently next time.
Yeah. And we're so afraid that we can't handle it that we don't want to look at it. It's like, I want to ignore it. And that's when, so often people can turn to, drugs or alcohol or something like that, because I don't want to deal with that pain, because it's stressful, because it feels threatening to look at that. And that's where tapping can be so effective, because it calms down the stress and it allows me to feel safer while I look at, here's the poop that's on the carpet. I don't have to run away from it. I don't have to pretend it's not there. I can allow myself to calm down that stress response and look at it and go, what am I so upset about? Dog pooped. Dogs poop. It's gonna poop somewhere. I'm gonna have to clean it up somewhere. It's on the carpet. All right. So it might take a little bit harder. It's a little harder to clean it out of the carpet than it is off the pavement outside. But why am I getting so upset? And so it gives us that ability to look at those things that we're avoiding. And it's those things that we're avoiding that so often limit our lives, because by allowing ourselves to look at that stuff and process it, it creates these opportunities for life at a level that most of us don't allow ourselves to experience.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Brad, while I've got you here, can you share with us a tapping tip for someone who wants to get started in tapping?
Simplest tip is go on YouTube and watch a video. We can do a tapping round right now if you'd like.
Yeah, righto.
Then perfect. So what do you want to tap on?
Oh, gosh, where do we start, Brad?
Well, we can do it. We were talking earlier about the pandemic and the stress that people are experiencing about different things. So let's just take just a basic stress thing. So what I'll invite folks to do is close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just follow your breath for a moment. Just allow yourself to be present and allow yourself to be aware of any stress that you might be experiencing right now. It could be related to the pandemic, could be related to travel, could be related to anything. It could be, a date that you have coming up. It's like, oh, it's a blind date. Well, I like this person. It could be about some project at work. Whatever it might be, just allowing yourself to be aware on a scale of 0 to 10 how much stress you might be feeling and where in your body you might be feeling it. So rating that stress, scale of 0 to 10. Allow yourself to be aware of any thoughts, beliefs, or memories that might contribute to that feeling. Take a deep breath, open your eyes. So the first thing we do is we take our fingertips, or our index and middle finger, and gently tap on the side of the opposite hand. And we'd say, Even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though, hang on, what did you say?
Yeah. Even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself.
So we repeat that 3 times, and we're just setting it up such that acknowledging that I have this feeling, and I choose to accept myself even though I'm feeling this. Because so often we fight our emotions. I shouldn't be feeling that. So it's allowing ourselves to say, even though I feel this, I accept myself. So we'd repeat that 3 times. Even though I feel this stress.
Even though I feel this stress, I love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself. Then we will go to the eyebrow point. So right at the beginning of your eyebrow, right near the middle of your face, and gently tap in there, generally between 5 and 10 times, but it's not an exact number. And we'd say, all the stress.
All the stress.
On the side of your eye. So follow your eyebrow out to the corner of your eye. All the stress.
All the stress.
Right under the middle of your eye, just above your cheek, all the stress.
All the stress.
Right under your nose, just above your upper lip, all the stress.
All the stress.
Now right below your lower lip, just above your chin, all this stress.
All the stress.
Next point is what we call the collarbone point. So if you feel where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat.
Yep.
And you can use all of your fingertips or even make a fist and tap over that area right there. All this stress.
All the stress.
Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit. So it's right about bra strap level. And I'm sure even the guys listening can figure out what that is. All this stress.
All the stress.
And then finally, the top of your head. So just tapping with all of your fingertips around a little circle around the crown of your head. All this stress.
All the stress.
And you take a deep breath. Let it go. And then you check again and say, okay, now on a scale of 0 to 10, how much is that stress?
It's like a 0 now.
Yeah, even with just that simple, that's the very basic way of doing EFT is by just repeating that same phrase. Now, tap the eyebrow point. All this stress.
All the stress.
Side of the eye. All these reasons for feeling stress.
All these reasons for feeling stress.
Under the eye. All this fear.
All this fear.
Onto the nose. Because all of this stress.
All this stress.
Onto the mouth. Has some fear related to it.
Has some fear related to it.
Collarbone. So what am I so afraid of?
So what am I so afraid of?
Under the arm. What's going on in my life?
What's going on in my life?
Top of the head. That I consider a threat.
That I consider a threat.
Eyebrow point. Is it a physical threat?
Is it a physical threat?
Side of the eye. Will it affect my physical well-being?
Will it affect my physical well-being?
Under the eye. Is it an emotional threat?
Is it an emotional threat?
Under the nose. Is it a threat to my ego?
Is it a threat to my ego?
Under the mouth. Which part of me says is life-threatening?
Which part of me says is life-threatening?
And so my body is responding.
And so my body is responding.
As though it's a life-threatening situation.
As though it's a life-threatening situation.
Top of the head. And I'm allowing myself to calm that down.
And I'm allowing myself to calm that down.
Eyebrow point. I choose to be open to the possibility.
I choose to be open to the possibility.
Side of the eye. That it's okay to release this stress.
That it's okay to release the stress.
Under the eye. I can process this fear.
I can process this fear.
Under the nose. And that's not going to make me stupid.
And it's not going to make me stupid.
I don't need fear to keep me safe.
I don't need fear to keep me safe.
I can feel peace.
I can feel peace.
Under the arm. And still make really good choices.
And still make really good choices.
Top of the head. So it's safe for me to release the stress.
So it's safe for me to release the stress.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. So that's just a taste of how I like to do it, of just starting to explore what might be going on there. And then in my tapping rounds, some of them will go, I've done tapping rounds that have gone 30, 40 minutes just because the ideas keep coming through me of, oh, it might be about this. Oh, talk about this. It might be about this. And just sort of turning over all those rocks and seeing what's underneath and going, oh, that might be what's causing the stress. And now that I'm tapping through that, I can release that and go into the situation much more open-minded. And, we have this belief that if I'm not feeling fear, I'm not going to protect myself. But hey, most of us cross the street and we look for the crosswalk signs and we watch traffic. We look both ways, especially if we're in a foreign country like Australia and people are driving on the wrong side of the road and we don't know where they're coming from. And, but we don't sit there and stand on the corner of the street and go, all right, now I need to work myself up into a good panic so that I make sure that I get safely across the street. And in fact, the panic tends to shut down the prefrontal cortex, our rational mind, and we make worse choices. So by letting go of the stress and feeling more peace, we're much more likely to make much better choices.
Yeah. And you know what, Brad, just after just doing that with you, I feel relaxed yet energized. Like there's no stress happening here.
Excellent. And the funny thing is, if I'd asked you before the interview, so Bindi, how relaxed do you feel? How much stress do you feel? You'd probably go, I'm feeling fine. And I've done this a lot of times with interviews, and the person will, feel fine. But after the tapping, it's like, I feel even better now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is we have this ambient stress most of the time that we're not aware of. And we're just like, that's just life. We just expect this ambient amount of stress as though we would walk around with a certain level amount of dirt on our hands and go, I don't need to wash my hands. That's a normal amount of dirt on my hands.
And here I was thinking I was the most Zen person around, Brad, Come on.
I was going to say when we first got on the call, it's like, this is possibly the most Zen person I have ever met.
Yeah, see?
And yet there's a whole other level of Zen you just got to.
There you go. Whole new level. Now, Brad, if people want to find out more about you and get in touch, how can they do that?
Thank you. The simplest way is to go to my website, tapwithbrad.com. But it's also Tap with Brad on social media and particularly on YouTube, where I have over 1,000 tapping videos now.
Brilliant. And yes, I highly recommend jumping on YouTube and checking those out. Now, before I let you go, Brad, I've got the last big question for you. What's the change you'd like to see in the world and how can we bring it to life?
The change is seeing people experience more peace. So I have my little blue wristband that says cultivate peace. And that's what I feel my job is. I start most days tapping while saying, thank you for making me an instrument of peace, just like the St. Francis prayer. And because when people experience peace, they don't want to hurt other people.
Yeah, generally.
And so that's why I make the videos. They're on all kinds of different subjects, but ultimately they're about clearing fear and anxiety so that we can feel peace. And from that place, we just want to do as much good as possible. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Brad, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the Ethical Evolution. I have loved every single minute. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Mindy. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Electricast.